Hey everybody, another night, another movie, and I just got done watching 1991's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Edward Furlong, Robert Patrick and Joe Morton. This one, as I said yesterday, seen it a lot of times. It is easily on my top 20 list of movies. Just gotta say, there are a lot of fireworks going off tonight. I guess a lot of, because it's the weekend, I guess a lot of fireworks shows and stuff have going on. But I'm hoping now it's calmed down. I'm hoping it's late enough now that you know, quarter to midnight, that they've stopped. But if you hear random bangs going off in the background, that'll be what that is. Anyway, back to this movie though. As I said yesterday, these are the movies that, well, at least these first two, these are the ones that you should totally know about. Basically, 7 years since the first movie, another Terminator, a more upgraded Terminator that looks amazingly like Robert Patrick, because it's played by Robert Patrick, comes back from the future to try killing John Connor, you know, as a young boy. But future John sends back the same model that tried to kill him before he was born, in the form of Arnold Schwarzenegger, to protect him and to stop this T-1000. So that is the main basis of this. You could argue that it's essentially the same movie. It's that chase, but obviously you've got Arnie being the good guy for a change. Except there are a lot of extra elements added, padding this movie out to a 2-hour and 20-minute long running time, which by 1991 standards was ridiculously long for an action movie. Today we take it for granted because we have such long movies now. But back then this was really long, and there is a lot more story to tell because they look at, say, you know, Sarah Connor is in a mental, insane asylum because of her ramblings about the future and apocalypse and all that stuff. You know, so you've got her there, you've got John, kind of a delinquent with foster parents, off on his own and doing whatever he wants. And then you've got the extra element of seeing, like, Cyberdyne systems and seeing the beginnings of Skynet, basically. So you have a lot more here. It's not just that simple, you know, chase kind of movie that the first one was. Also as well, the nice thing, I don't know, it's something I didn't touch on last time that I was going to point out. I don't know if because it was set in 1984 they were trying to get the point across, but oh my god, the first movie was so 80s. I don't think if I'd spotted any leg warmers, I would have gone into a 80s coma. It was that ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen so many perms, mullets, music, you know, this, that and the other. It was so awful. In that sense. Thankfully we've progressed since then, and we're showing that time has progressed by Linda Hamilton has much better hair in this movie, and although there is one kid in it that has an awful mullet, it's really embarrassing, the poor kid. But time has changed, and you know what, this has amazing CGI in it. Bear in mind, cutting edge technology for the time. I don't know if it's because the market is so saturated with this stuff now that nobody can be asked to do simple effects and it's just easier to just go on a computer and that. And maybe, but this movie's effects and I am saying this in all genuineness, some of the effects in this movie are better than some of the effects we have today. Some of the effects on the T-1000, not always when it's in liquid form, but just generally the odd effect here and there, it's way better than, well, certainly way better if nothing else than the stuff in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It doesn't look as layered on top as some of the stuff we have today. And I don't know if that's because, you know, when CGI was used then, it was such a special, expensive kind of technique that it was used sparingly, and when it was used, so much more attention was paid to it. I don't know. But you know what, as a grown-up watching this movie, you know, 20 plus years later, it just blows my mind. It's easy to forget how long ago this movie was made. And I'm not just saying that. And I'm not just saying that as somebody who has gone on record numerous times to bitch about the amount of CGI in today's movies. Because bear in mind, this is CGI. But I don't know, it just feels a lot better utilised. And like I say, it looks a lot more effective. James Cameron again is writing and directing with somebody else, and again he's on cue with everything, because everything feels necessary. It's weird because Sarah Connor is in the institution like for a good portion of the first part of the movie. You're mainly really following John Connor as he's kind of being a delinquent and stuff. And you know, the T-1000 and Arnie's Terminator, they're kind of sparingly used. You know, as you're building up, you feel that kind of tension. But as you start to get into the more, you know, the meat of the movie, you know, you really feel this despair for kind of Sarah, because, you know, she's having these nightmares of, you know, nuclear blasts and stuff like that. And you know what, this is the thing, is I saw this, and she even writes in her sleep, like, no fate, written, you know, on with a knife on a bench, because that's something that Kyle told her, older John had told him to repeat. You know, we make our own fates and stuff like that. But as we know, you know, from this movie and what comes afterwards, that sometimes no matter what you try, you're just doomed to live that same fate. I saw an amazing episode from the new version of The Twilight Zone a little while back, the one with Forrest Whitaker doing the narrating. And it was this excellent story of a woman being sent back in time to kill Hitler. And she killed the baby after a lot of kerfuffling, except some other kid got taken and raised by the same guy, and he became Hitler. It was like, you know, no matter what you do, time and space and fate will find a way to tell the same story. Everything happens for a reason, that kind of thing. And you know what, it's easy to, you know, knowing what the future holds, knowing there's nothing you can do, knowing that all you can do is just wait and try whatever you can to stop it and protect the future, fight the future if we're going to use the X-Files terms. That will drive you crazy. So it's no surprise whatsoever that, you know, she struggled to raise this child, and she's ended up in the mental asylums. And you feel really bad sympathy for her. I mean, you see her fighting. She wants her son to be strong. She wants him to be a leader and that. But she wants to be a mother. She wants to be loving. She wants to be there for him and stuff. And you see, Linda Hamilton portrays that brilliantly. It's amazing to watch her bounce between absolutely off her head, tender, and then fucking badass. As I was saying yesterday, it's, yeah, Terminator, the first movie, is you seeing her kind of before she learns the truth of the future. And then this movie is a progression of that. And that's what I love about this movie as well, is it doesn't feel like a complete repeat of the first one. So many sequels. This is one of those sequels that actually tells you sometimes sequels can work. It feels like a complete continuation. Yes, there is the element of the whole chase, you know, that thing being a key point. But it feels like a progression. And Edward Furlong kind of annoys me in this. And it's problematic because I met him. I've actually met him a couple of times. The first time he was a bit of a douchebag. Second time he was a bit nicer. It may have been just that I'd mentioned Pet Sematary too when I met him the first one, but first time. But yeah, I find him kind of annoying at the start of this movie. But again, I kind of warm up to him, and I think that's once he and Linda are opposite each other. They have that mother-son kind of chemistry, and it kind of softens him out. But also you see the beginnings of him being that leader when he's given Arnie the orders, and he's showing, you know, that you don't just kill people, and you've got to care and stuff like that. You see that leader in him from a young age, and that's what makes what comes later believable, kind of thing. So I enjoy watching that, and I like, you know, knowing what happens and stuff to see those characters. But Arnie, you know, he gets to show a bit more, you know, as the Terminator kind of learns, you know, slang and to be a little more human. He gets to show, he gets to act his, he kind of gets to flex his acting chops a little bit more. Joe Morton, I feel, is underused in this, which is a shame. But again, it's nice to see the beginnings of, you know, like I say, Cyberdyne and them having to fight that and try and stop Skynet. So it feels like, in a way, it's an origin story as well as a progression. That sounds really silly, but it is essentially, bearing in mind we're dealing with time travel, it is that kind of movie. But again, as I said with the first one, I could go on about this movie for ages. I mean, oh my god, Robert Patrick is fucking amazing in this. There is nothing, as I said in The Faculty, there is nothing more terrifying than his glare. He just lowers his head slightly and just glares at you. And I guess the only thing scary of that is when he smiles. But it's funny because I saw this before he was then in the X-Files. So I'm like, oh, you're Doggett. I like Doggett, but you're creepy fucking T-1000. It's like, so he is perfect for this role though. I can't imagine anybody else being that character. It's so different from the other Terminator. It's kind of insane. But yeah, no, I love this movie. You know what, I don't know if it's because I watched it after seeing the first one, but I don't like it as much more as the first one as I used to. I don't know if it's because it felt a lot longer, this one. It does kind of drag at times, and no matter how necessary everything is, there are some slow moments where you're just like, okay, can we get back to the action or something? And for me, I'm not somebody who likes with the action. I like those quiet moments, but there are times when it just feels like it's dragging ever so slightly. And I feel like the first movie was a lot more, like, you know, plot-wise was, you know, straightforward. This one, I think they were playing with more time, they had more effects to get in, and they had that extra story to tell. The only nitpick I had, which sounds silly for a 2 hour 20-minute long movie, is at the end, the T-1000 pins Sarah and he tells her to call for John. And we know from the start of this movie and stuff, he can mimic voices. He can mimic, and he does it shortly after this scene. He can mimic bodies and stuff. And yet, he was insisting that she call him. Now, I guess there's some, like, you know, it would be nice for her to turn him in and stuff like that. But it just felt completely pointless because we knew that he has that technology to copy voices. And the other thing was when he just essentially starts malfunctioning, when anything metallic he touches, he bonds with. And we hadn't seen that for the rest of the movie, really. So it just felt like it'd been thrown in at the end. Somebody will very easily explain that way, I know. But they were just little nitpicks I had when I was watching it. But otherwise, this is an excellent movie. See, yesterday I said I would easily give it a 9. I'm kind of retracting that slightly, because it did feel really long at times. And I have to laugh when I see her. You know, Sarah's been portrayed to us as somebody who can easily, you know, has stockpiled on all these weapons and everything like that. And then at the end, she's struggling to load a freaking gun. It's like, oh my god, woman, seriously. They were little nitpicks that just got to me. But otherwise, besides the slight drag-in, this is a pitch perfect movie. It's brilliant. Amazing makeup and model effects by, of course, the late great Stan Winston and his studio. Just amazing puppetry and like I say, visual makeup and stuff. Just all round the same theme again that builds that drums in that kind of tension and stuff like that. Honestly, I enjoy this movie so much. I have seen it so many times over the years, and I look forward to watching it time and time again in the future. I'm going to say an 8.5 out of 10. I would give it a 9, but I don't know, I'm just really struggling to give it a 9. There's just something stopping me and I don't know what it is. But 8.5, 9, it's a really enjoyable movie. Like I say, please, if you have seen the first one and for some reason have not seen this, if you like your sci-fi movies, if you like action movies, if you like Arnie movies, if you are after a good evening watch, please do check out Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I'll be back again tomorrow with Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I actually like. But we'll be back with that tomorrow. Thanks all for watching. Looking forward to seeing your comments. But for now, this is Sketch, signing out. Hasta la vista, baby!